Hello and welcome back to the MineTrek.net game server. Yeah, this is an update on the remodel of the original Voyager, my little pet project. It has no bearing on anything that's going on with the main Voyager, as that build is currently still in limbo. Anyways, well, let's go ahead and talk about what I have been up to since the last video. The girl is doing fine. I have to admit that the Voyager, she's cooperating with me in a way I did not expect. It's like she wants to be remodeled, and I'm very excited about that as the remodel process has been ongoing and looking good so far. Let's go ahead and go on down here to deck 2. I'll show you some of the first revision work I've done. In the last video, it was pointed out to me that there are two replicators in this room. Yes, this is a VIP quarters, so it does have two replicators. Just a thing. Looks good. It's always good to keep your VIPs happy, in my opinion. Anyways, down here, since we got rid of the captain's private mess hall or private eating area, it's just a little table that she eats with a couple of chairs, nothing big, and a replicator. And it was turned into a galley for the officers and whatnot. I figured, well, you know what? It stands to reason if we're going to keep this, we got to replace where the captain is supposed to have her little private meals and whatnot. So what I did is I reallocated the top portion of this lounge to be the captain's personal eating area, complete with a galley. Yeah, I love these blocks. They work so well for drawers. You know, like beep, drawer opens, beep. They do. They look great for drawers. It'd be awesome if we had like a dedicated mod that had like kitchen sinks. And oh wait, there is one. It's called Pam's Harvest Craft Indoor Cooking for Blockheads. But chance of getting that into this pack, no. Yeah. The reason I say that is it does gives you countertops and things like that. Then if you do that, then you got to add things like McRae's furniture mod. I mean, you have chairs and toilets and computers and things like that. So yeah, and that kind of stuff adds a lot of lag because one thing you'll run into when you start filling out all these rooms, and the reason why I don't do it atypically, is all of these things right here add you know, lag to what you're doing. And, you want your experience to be lag free as much as possible. Granted, you could just go out and buy yourself a super duper, computer that'll, do single core operations, single thread operations really well. But, who has the money? And of course, you can't find any of those processors because, shortages and whatnot. So we're stuck with what we have. So we got to do what we got to do to make it easy for everyone. So less and less of the item frames and doors. And every time I find a sign, it's blank, I get rid of it because signs are good, but they're worthless if there's nothing on them. So get rid of them. Don't need them. Anyways, let's go ahead and walk back this way here, and I will go ahead and continue our friendly little tour of the Enterprise. Excuse me, of the Voyager. Me bad. Yeah, I've been working on a lot of ships lately, so yeah, forgive me if I mislabel the one I'm on. I'm sure they won't be offended. Go ahead and go on down here. But then again, you never know. I mean, Starship to Starships. Okay, I need to check that. Yeah, okay, it's right. I'm down here. This is deck 3. I really haven't done much with this deck yet. Just started working on deck 6, I think it is. And so some of the things I came up with for deck 6, I believe, I'm going to implement here on this deck up here retroactively. And mainly it's like when you come into some of these decks here, you'll see that some of these rooms are real bland and whatnot. That's fine. I don't mind the gray block. It's just a good filler block for right now. Also, it kind of matches the look I've seen of the set pieces, which are all painted gray. But all of these decks through here will be revisited with things as I learn what to do as I go down. So there's not a lot to do on deck 3 here. So I'm pretty happy with that. Mainly, it would probably have to do with how I do around the windows. That's pretty much it. I can tell you that working with Windows and Minecraft on a spaceship with halls like these is a PETA for darn sure. And you can look up what PETA stands for. It's an acronym for pain in the yeah. All right, let's go ahead and go on down here to deck 4. And if we can drop down the liter. All right, we're on deck 4 now. We're working our way back here. Okay, so I did do a change here on deck 4, and if I can remember where the change was done at, I will show it to you right here. Beforehand, this right here was a lounge, and it's the same thing on the other side. It was just an open air lounge, and I decided to go ahead and turn it into a crew quarter. I just to me it was a better use of the space. Plus, I lost a couple of crew quarters when I did some remodel work on the decks below, so I figured I'd come back up here and I just turn some extra these spaces into crew quarters because they don't really need, two lounges 15 feet apart from each other. They can go up to deck 2 or deck 3 and use those lounges up there. Um, we have our beginning portion of our cargo bay, and now I do not know if I will keep these wall patterns. Right now, there's no reason for me to change them, so I am leaving them as they are here, but I could update them to a different design palette. I don't know yet. I just haven't gotten there. I probably will because I have better images of, what they want the cargo bays to look like in the walls and whatnot. And I think updating this would actually add a depth of modernization to the Voyager herself. Plus, it'll also help me wrap my mind around what we have to do with the new Voyager. And that new Voyager effectively is twice the size of this Voyager. It's a big ship. It really is. It's almost like the size of the Galaxy now compared to the Constitution class. It's just huge. But yeah, you can see here that you have a lot more space on these in these rooms here because of the changes that were made, especially going down when you get into these small. I'll show you on a couple of decks down where how big some of these rooms were. They were literally only as 3 blocks big, and then you had the corridor wall, and these rooms were packed full of things that you had to step around and whatnot. And I just couldn't abide that. It was just a bad design on my end. I should never have left those rooms to be that small. So what I did is I ended up moving corridors and readjusting and reconfiguring the map layout. And I think it works out a lot better on a lot of the decks. Definitely gain some more room. Now, these rooms here are labeled as labs or offices or whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I came up with a wall pattern palette that I like for labs, and all these rooms are going to be updated to that palette. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do because this is the hall right here. That's the hall. I there's not much I can do. I can put like hatches there to, like iron hatches and whatnot, but then you always got that iron hatch look. And this is something I should point out about the iron hatch. You'll see it when we get down to the medical complex, which is something I completed last night. So the iron hatches work really well as roof blocks, like such. And if there's, but the problem is there aren't hatches. They look like hatches. Now with 116, that changes. We end up having access to a lot more hatches, style wood hatches. Like I think there's like 4 or 5 more hatches added, even more than that, because there's a whole bunch of new blocks added. So if we were to ever jump from 112.2 to 116.4 or even later, we'd gain access to those, and it would be really neat to see at least one of those hatch blocks or two of them converted into flat colors. So like this color of a hatch block, so we can use that as a roof block. And ideally, what it would really be awesome is if Mojang would allow us in stock Minecraft to set the parameters or configure for each individual block as we see fit. So we can just take a block we're not using and say you are now a solid block with light level X and transparency Y. So you can see through it like glass, but you can also walk through it if you wanted to, the solidity of it. I know there's a mod pack out there that does that. I think it's extra editions, extra utilities. And it has effortable glass, which you can literally walk through, but mobs can't. It's really cool mechanic. But yeah, but again, that's modded. But I'd like to see those two things added in vanilla. But if we did dump to 116, I would love to see at least one or two of the new hatches made into solid color so we can use them as a roof block. Because to be honest with you, when you use you gain so much more height because you're only using a fraction of the size of these things. So I could easily like do something like this. See, and it looks so much better than what was here beforehand. But of course, this being what it is, you just got to do. I'm going to go ahead and just change all of these to black because I think it actually fills in a lot nicer if it's black. Yeah, it looks a lot better if it's black. I'll go back through and I'll redo all of this deck here and turn it all into black, get rid of this stuff here along there because it doesn't need to be there. Boy, my mouse just loved to wig out on me right there. That was really fun. I think the battery's getting low. Anyways, let's continue the tour here. I'll go back through and I'll change all of these blocks to this block later on. Let's work our way forward here and I'm looking for anything that I have not done. Okay, so I went ahead and filled in these rooms here, put in these machineries in here, so they're filled in. And I will do that with every deck. I will go back through and I will fill in all the decks and put a machine right here. This is the big coffee pot. Yep. Made this a little like a maintenance area back through here. I know these blocks are the wrong color for Voyager, but you work with what you have, and that's all I can tell you. You just work with what you have. You come back through here, we're in the upper part of the cargo bay, which is really nicely done. Again, I don't know, because I already changed these blocks to gray blocks, but this is just an upper area. It's not this area here. So yeah, yeah, yeah. My main concern right now is getting the redesign done. Then I go back through and I can make pallet chases like with these blocks and whatnot, all in what time, and then I can go from there. Let's go ahead and work our way back here. Keep in mind that I'm looking for problems as I go, because then I get them on recording, then I can look, see, these signs just pop up out of nowhere. Um, then I can look back through the recording and go back and address any problems I see. So just bear with me as I mope along through here looking for things to fix and whatnot. Let's go ahead and take a turbo lift down. We haven't done that in a while. One turbo lift down. Don't kill me. All right, so let's go ahead and go forward here, and I'll go over what I've done on this deck. You can pretty much see it in the circle map above me there. This is the cargo bay right here. This deck I think we covered in the previous video. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, I think it's pretty much covered in the previous video. So I'm looking for things that I've changed on this deck, and I'm not really recalling if I changed. I think I filled in some stuff back here. Let's go ahead and just go a little bit faster. It is nice to walk around the build. It really is kind of cool to do that, just to walk around, go plop, 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 plop around and tour things and whatnot. Yep, yep, this deck has been pretty much covered. I don't see anything new here per se. Did I make any changes that I should mention through here? I don't recall. I don't believe so. I did, I think I did turn one of these rooms here. I reconfigured one of the rooms to be something different. Not really sure. I don't know. Maybe it was on the other deck. Yeah. But yeah, this is the transporter rooms. Looking good. So let's go ahead and go down the stairwell to the next deck. Plop, plop, plop. Here we are. Okay. Yep, this is one of the decks I just completed. And this right here is tied into another area over there so we can get to the back side of this machine, but this is just a little access point for it right here. I'm not really liking how this looks, so I'm probably going to change this wall pattern and have to go back through and refit everything that I used that on. That can be a pain in the pipe, so I need to make a decision on that real quick as to what block pattern I want to use. But anyways, this right here is part of, gosh darn it, waste management and reclamation, and that's a processor waste processing unit, and these are all waste filters. Then we come back through here. There used to be a wall right here with this entire length. I got rid of the wall because it just it cramped the area in a way that it didn't need to be cramped, and it was just redundant. So I just figured, screw it, get rid of it. I went through here and I just got to clean this area up a little bit. Got rid of a lot of the clutter that was just choking it. This is life support. Then we go back further, there's like a little engineering area back here that works with the systems down below, and it's pretty cool. I pulled these systems out for working with the other Voyager, and they're pretty intricate. I didn't realize I put that much detail into a lot of the stuff I was working on back then, but I did. I really packed in the detail. Very happy with it. Now, the one thing I need to point out about this deck here is it had these really small crew quarters along the rim of the saucer or the primary hull, whatever you want to call it. And I couldn't do anything with it. So I had to do something. I had to move the corridor inward. Normally the corridor would be on the other side of this wall. I just flipped it to this side of the wall, and that gave me 2 extra blocks in there because remember we had a double wall these. So that allows for a lot more room on these crew quarters. And beforehand, they were very small. I think they were only this big. This was also redesigned as part of the recontouring of the corridor. But yeah, and I also started to change how I'm doing around the windows, which is one of the things I'll have to go back up through and redo on all the other decks. When I come up with ideas like this, I have to stop, then I have to go back and I have to refit so that everything's consistent going through. And that's where I'm at right now. Is now I'm just in the process of finalizing this deck and migrating the changes or the ideas for this deck upwards so that all that's done. But in order, when I flipped the corridor to this side, I lost some space in this room here, and that means I had to get rid of one of these tanks. I think the tank came to here, and then there was another tank or something that came out to right here. And instead of putting the tanks back in here because of the shortened distance, I figured, well, it looks pretty decent. You look on the map, it looks pretty good the way it is. I could move these tanks inward, and I could fit another couple of tanks in here, but really, why bother? It looks good the way it is. So what I did is I made this little command area, or this little maintenance control area. That's better, right? Control area right here. So that they could come in here and do what they have to do on both end port and starboard. It works. I like it. What I also had to do to gain enough space is these were 4 wide corridors. They're all 3 wide now. All the corridors that go from port to starboard are now 3 wide instead of 4 wide through here. And what it did is it gave me a lot more room for these crew quarters that are in here. This deck has 32, I'm thinking 32 crew quarters on it. So yeah, it's got a few crew quarters on it, which is good. Because you need the crew quarters in order to, you know, give the crew some place to live. Let's go ahead and go through this Jeffries tube right here. Now I know these again aren't. We work with what we got, so just bear with me. Now this is between 2 holodecks. There's a holodeck over there and there's a holodeck over the top of the holodecks. We don't have access to the holodecks from this deck. You got to go down 1 deck or 2 decks to get to that. But I wanted to fill this space because it just needed to be filled. So this is what I did last night, or well, early this morning. So I filled in that and finished up preliminary work on this deck right here. Again, crew quarters. This is a space bathroom, storage area, and again, a lot more roomy space in these crew quarters. You got full bedrooms, full bath, a decent living space now instead of being a crapped little, just poorly implemented design as I had beforehand. I'm very happy with how these look now. A lot more roomy in my opinion, and they work a lot better with what I have to work with. Then we have this big area right here. I have to copy this over to the port side or starboard side. I have just finished up doing it here, but I haven't moved it to the port side yet. And come through here. So when we get to the port side, you'll see that it's not done. A lot of stuff on here I still have to mirror. These are the lab designs that I'm going with. This is the wall block palette that I want to use. And it's a shaded gradient palette. This is actually 1 block. That's white terracotta, white concrete, and then of course pink concrete or terracotta. This is what labs will look like. I think it's a nice clean look, which is what labs should look like. It should be a nice clean look. Come through here, got our little escape pod. I'll probably remove the floor so the pod will fit. Yeah, it is what it is. We just got to work with what we got. It's Minecraft, and these hull designs they just put things where they thought they would look good, and that's just the way they did it. So yeah, gotta live with it. Gotta live with it. Through here, you see a lot more room through here for these crew quarters. I've got a little conference room right here, or if I want, it can be a little lounge, or even be a emergency use lab or medical or whatever you want to use it for. You got a little area up here, and then you got a bedroom and a bathroom right there. Walk forward here. We gained a lot more room for these rooms here. Beforehand, they were pretty narrow, but with moving the corridor and everything else, I was able to make these kind of spacious. And if we come forward here, you'll see the bathrooms right here, and then you have this too high. Can't do anything about that. That's the hull of the ship, and there's just nothing I can do about it. Requires too high to walk in here, so we have to live with the hull being right there. It's just the way it is. Nothing you can do about it. Minecraft. And bad ship designing on their part at Paramount. Got a battery room right here. Here we've got Jeffries. You'll note there's no Jeffries tube down there, but there is one right here. I wonder why. Got a little ladder here that takes us down and does not take us up. Oh yeah, it does. It takes us up here to this hatch right here to this room. And you'll note that the phasers have been updated. Yep, did that as well. So I just want to have access to the phaser array. But we come back through here, the batteries again. Now, this is sick bay, and this is the medical wing. I did not want to have this ugly arch right here going into sick bay, so what I did is I doored it off and gave it a door, so it looks cleaner. And it's a funny thing with Voyager. It's like the sets for every year they were updated and updated and updated and updated. Yeah, it just yeah. So just keep that in mind. That's a TV show, and TV show things change what they shouldn't change, but they do change. So it stands to reason that at some point they had a Jeffries tube access point in sickbay right there. So we have it now too. It is what it is. I'll get to sickbay here in a second. Come back through here. Another escape pod, crew quarters. And you'll see here in a second that I haven't finished this side yet. I got to get this taken care of. I'll get that done. And then moving back, it's mostly crew quarters all the way along there, and crew quarters and whatnot through here. I think it's crew quarters. Nope, another lab. This is, like I said, this is the pattern for the lab that I want to go with. I really like it. I think it looks good. Got a little workspace right here. Got a room right in here for things. Got a little area right here and a little lab in a lab. Builder humor. Just laugh, okay? That's your job, and I demand you do it. But if we come back through here, we hang a right and go. Actually, we need to go forward. My bad. But it's fun walking around the Voyager and exploring the Voyager because why not? We're here. Let's walk around and enjoy the updated version of the Voyager. We'll go this way here. There we go. Now there is a corridor redesign involved on this deck. I removed one corridor as it was really just redundant. It was not needed. And I think the new look, it gives a lot more room to the medical complex and a lot more space to the deck overall. I think it was a good change. We have a little cargo loading area right here where you can move cargo from lower to upper, get access to here for the labs and whatnot. Our first room right here is the morgue. Yeah. If you get space killified, this is where you'll probably end up if you're not vaporized. They'll bring you in here. If you're really special, you end up right here. Get, special care. And eventually you end up back in here in these drawers. Beep, comes out, throw the body on, beep, and you go. In case you get bloody working on bodies, you have a shower. And just in case, space booper. And nice thing about it is you can also just run across the hall and use this one too, if that one's full. Because I'm sure there'll be somebody puking at some point. So you need more bathrooms around the morgue than you normally do. Got a little ODN area right here. Work on stuff. Then we come into this is I believe this is the standard medical wing. This is where long-term patients would be at for care and whatnot. And if they're not contagious, this is where they'll be like, oh, you have an appendicitis, oh poor you. Beep, sit here for a while. And of course, Jeffries tube access. But this is just like an overflow area, just for if and when. But for day use, he would just come around the corner here and go in here. Hey, Doc. And of course, your friendly hologram would appear and begin to berate you. But yeah, this is what I've ended up doing. You can see what I did with the hatches. Again, if they were a solid color, it would look a lot better. But this is what I have to work with, so I'm working with it. Yes, I did include the space booper because, again, Hollywood set piece. Trust me, you need a space booper in reality. So I just put it right here. It's a good spot for it. If they were to have designed it into the show, I'm almost positive they would have probably stuck it over here or something because they knew there was a corridor out here. So it'd be kind of stupid to have a door right here. But then again, anything's possible when you're talking about Hollywood. So anyways, with this examination triage operating area, I'm thinking that I'm going to carve out an area similar to this up there, and then I'll cover all the flooring and stuff with machinery. For this part, we're pretty lucky. We don't have to worry about it because the Jeffries tube basically takes care of itself. But for in here, this is the floor of a room, so I will redesign this room. Probably get rid of these two doors here and here. Before I do that, let's look. Yeah, I can do that. I'll put the door right dead center, and I will make machinery to cover up what I'm about to do with this. So that's just a design choice I'm going to go with because I want extra height for this particular area of sickbay. I'd like to do it for all of sickbay, but I just cannot add another layer of another layer of blocks to this deck. I just can't do it. So it would make the ship look very awkward if I did. Besides that, the hull around the edge of this area of the ship is very, very, very thin to work with. Not a lot of space. You have your doctor's office right here. Then you have your work area right here. Got a door. You have your doctor's day use with a bed, overhead baggage compartments. Little work area right here. Shower, like a hologram needs it. But yeah, little office area there. And you got storage. Again, these things work really well for drawers. Then you have a little access point to the port side Jeffries tube. And you come through here, you have some workstations, another space pooper. And then you're in the OR area. And drawers for storage, and then you have OR1, OR2, and then, pre-op and post-op recovery. Come out through here, and go through here, you have your isolation ward, 4 rooms. And that's all I could fit in here because, yeah, figure, if you need more isolation, I'm sure they could, allocate more space for it in other parts. Again, your little alcove there. And then we have our labs. And that's pretty much it for what I've got going on this deck right here. Let's go ahead and talk about what I got going on down here on these 2 decks. Now, I've already started carving out and working on this deck right here and moving stuff. And I've already made these rooms right here. Now, let's do a comparison. And you tell me which one you would prefer to live in. Okay? Okay. So, let's say here... We'll go with... go with this one right here. Let's go ahead and pop on in here. See if we can get in there. Wow, this is your crew quarters. Happy you. You ever live in a trailer? Because this actually is smaller than a camp trailer. There is. Ugh. This is it. This is your space. You get to live on this ship for your entire life, because you're lost in the Delta Quadrant. Could you live on this in this space for the rest of your life? Seriously, could you? Or would you prefer we go straight across? We're just going straight across. Or would you prefer to have a little bit more room like this? Yeah, I think you're going to opt for the room and the full-size bedroom and the full-size bath. So that's why this redesign was necessary. It was to accommodate that. And to do that, I had to get rid of an extra corridor. And I did that. I got rid of the extra corridor and I relayed out this deck plan. And to me, it's a lot cleaner looking. It works a lot more, to me, it's a lot more functioning. It doesn't affect the hollow deck at all because all the hollow deck stuff and everything is above it. And it looks good. It gives a lot more space to these rooms. And what I'll do is I'll alternate these. Or actually, I don't need to because I got the corridors on this side feeding those rooms. I can have the corridor on this side entering into these rooms right here. And yeah, pretty much it. And this is what I've gotten done so far on this deck. I'm just sort of reworking it. And this deck is kind of unique because it's... You see, let me see here. Is it this deck or the next deck? Yeah, I think it's the next 2 decks. And as I work on these decks, this deck is linked to this deck, and this deck is decidedly linked to this deck back here. This is literally the goes down here. It's the roof of this deck. And the reason being is because back here it's all open and all this machinery belongs to this deck. So when I go back to mirror, I have to lower this down first, and then I can lower this section down, this whole section down. It's going to be a bit of a PETA, but I'll get it done. PETA is an acronym for pain in the ass. Yeah, I'll get it done. I'll get her done. And then we're onto the cargo deck, and for the most part, not a lot's going to happen on this deck as far as changes goes in the cargo area. Again, I might update the wall patterns. I'm going to leave the ceiling alone as much as possible. I did get rid of the floor here because, don't mind this, is just me from doing mirroring and stuff. Because when we put in the Jeffries tubes, they're going to go along the center right here. And this is kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. In order to get the Jeffries tubes, I guess I could keep the floor here, and just because I have the height up here, it's just I have to figure it out in my head how I want to do it. I just need to think about what I want to do in this space right here because these are all over. If you go over here, these are all old uh, pattern battery cells that we use. Now we have a different pattern for the battery cells. So this all gets updated. I got a double wall through here, so we're gonna, it's gonna lend itself well to the update, but it's just wrapping my mind around this area here and how I wanted to do this. And again, I have the space above me to do it, so I could probably just do it above, which means I have to build the lower part of the the Jeffries tube, and then build the upper part up here. And it's kind of a pain to do it that way, but I guess I could do it that way. Of course, you have your Jeffries tube access right here, and all this dated stuff right here. Oh my gosh. I see this and I just cringe and I just want to rip it all out. You know, it's the product of updating. When you start to update, you start to see all the flaws and things of previous builds, and you're like, oh my god, what was I thinking? I'm such a noob. This is so ick. But, we do what we got to do. I thought about doing a live stream of just walking around breaking blocks for 5 hours, but I don't think that would go over too well with folks. It is just what it is. And that's another thing I noticed. It's like these weird blue patterns on the floor, and even in the quarters, you see these weird, like, you have a floor, and then it had like just splotches of gray added to it here and there. It's just, what the hell? Why is that way? I don't know. Somewhere along the build process, the color schemes got messed up and whatnot, so you have to live with it. But yeah, this is pretty much where I'm at on the Voyager remodel, not the actual new Voyager, as that build's currently in limbo. I can tell you that this has been a little bit easier than I thought it would be thus far. Knock on wood. And yeah, so she's looking good. And I am optimistic about getting her done sometime in 2021. And I don't know what we're going to do with the old Voyager. If this remodel looks good and everybody agrees it looks good, I think this will probably become the de facto, hey, go look at the Voyager until the new one's done. This will probably be her. I don't know because again, signs are missing and I don't have the time or the desire to go through and label everything with wood again just to see it all disappear once the model gets moved because the data for the science gets blanked or something. I don't know. I really don't know what the process is, but I'm doing this for me, just because I just wanted to see if I could do it, and I enjoy the process. Plus, it also gets me in the mindset for if we do leap on to the other build, I can jump on that as well. Anyways, I do appreciate taking time to watch. Again, this is the MineTrek.net game server. If you watch it this far, please hit that thumbs up for me. It'd be greatly appreciated. Also, come check out all the other builders and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of builds by CreeperBot. I tell you right now, CreeperBot has some phenomenal builds, both Star Trek and Star Wars, that you have to check out to believe the detail that is packed into CreeperBot's builds is amazing. You also have Shadow Appler building his big builds, his Aether and whatnot. You have all the little projects going on. You have things that Blue Phobes is working on. Good old Blue. It's always figuring ways to make things better. And of course, we have the updated Enterprise E that I believe Droid and Blue Phobes reworked the aft hangar and parking bay, and I've implemented that into the Enterprise E build. And you should check that out. I'll probably do a video on it sometime soon and whatnot. But there's also HD. He's working on a build. I believe Aura is doing what she's doing, and Queen Curry is doing what she's doing, and of course you have the Ipanic and Mad Squirrel Vesta build. And there's probably a host of other builders. I forget. Don't hold it against me. Thankfully there are a lot of builders on the server today doing things and having fun. I see right now how many people are on the server. Oh, there you go. There you go. You got Uncle Dodge. What's Uncle Dodge working on? Give me a second here. I think let's buzz over here because I brought over the this build because I was gonna tinker around with this, and it's an open build for folks to want to work on, practice their designs and stuff. I don't see any tags, so not working on it. But I thought this was something that might pique the interest of a builder. But yeah, you all remember this build, so this is a kit bash. Just we did this as just an interim sort of something to work on, and basically it's I forget the name of the Spire class or something. I don't remember. The Insignia or something. The Viper. I think it's called the Viper. Yeah, the Viper class. Because it's fast like a snake. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you would, please check us out on Facebook, and or if you feel up to it, donate to the server. It helps them keep the server up and running. Have a great day, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.